Okay, so we're gonna run around Palia here and have some fun and figure out what we are wanting to talk about. I have so many things. I could probably fill a 5 hour, playthrough of this, but I think getting us started with just what is why am I falling head over heels for this game? Um, Much of it came from the chat that I will switch over to here so you can see. So this chat is constantly having people communicate, especially if I leave this space and go to the main kind of areas. And what I found was that there's always people 24/7 that are often playing um, in these different other kind of main lobby spaces, but they're incredibly helpful. And if you look at this loading screen as we're traveling, there's all kinds of messages here that are both about safety, but they're also about your self care. Take a break. Um, it's everyone's home, build a welcoming, inclusive place. So these are explicit norms that are being set, which are different than guidelines or rules. Those also can be found, but this is really cueing you to think about this as that third space, that other space, and that the only way that we make this a fun game is if we all help each other. Um, and getting to see people chat over here, usually more in the evenings. We might see some activity today, but and seeing how sometimes people come in and they're really disoriented and demanding, and how the community absorbs that is really interesting to me. I don't usually see more than 10 or 20 people in these shared spaces, and the daily average users seem up in the thousands. So I'm guessing there's hundreds of splits of this. Yeah. But what it does is their community system is very squeezed. It's really built for kind of collaborative trading and sharing, and there's a lot of limitations. But I think that as an entrance space, that a lot of social VR immersive gaming is missing. This is one of the best onboarding journeys I've ever been on, where I'm not really encouraged to interact with people until pretty far into the game. And mostly what I'm doing is I'm interacting with NPCs. And so the NPCs are training me basically to be really helpful to them. So I'm looking at my map right now to see where the villagers are, and the village priest, Shane, is up there. So we're going to run over and talk to him for a moment. And the reason I've learned to run over and talk to these people is to actually do them a favor, like help them out, bring them something they're looking for. And so what it's doing is through these archetypal figures, it's teaching us to look for ways to kind of build bridges. Um, and so there's always this kind of story that they're going to be telling me. Um, and yet they actually have really deep and interesting things at times to share. Um, and so, like, look at that. This is just a random one. By bringing a little order in a small part, we can see new ways to bring order to the rest of it. It's kind of like mentorship coaching of sorts. When I click on that box, I'm now getting some information on something that either he needs or a different villager needs. And he's actually talking about the village dog. Tao is a dog, and he's saying he needs things to chew on, apparently. Uh, and so I should go get leather for the dog. And when I bring these different items to the villagers, then they give me other adventures and quests to go on. And so if we look at my quests that I've completed, you can see this wall of these journeys and adventures, probably 50 to 60 here, right? And some of these take a long time to complete, but all the way through, they are being layered with all kinds of coaching on how to be a healthy human being having social connection, um, but also learning about the backstory of the area and the space. And if you think about social VR or things like Second Life, what you're going to find is that they do very fast onboarding and try to get you in contact with people pretty quickly, most of these social immersive spaces. I understand the fear of leaving people isolated to for too long when they think they're there to connect with people can also be a backlash. But I think that I think that when people are coming into those immersive spaces, usually having experience with gaming before then, they're expecting a guided path to get you to the point where you're meeting the people and understanding the culture, and not even giving people the option of an onboarding quest, like go find 10 worlds that have the color blue in them, or go talk to 5 people and ask them about their first day in this app, or whatever. Without those nudges where you know you're going to have that endorphin response, that reward system of I did something good, it turns into a lot of destructive and chaotic energy. I'm also standing here because I want to point out this center place here, which is the center of the village where you can go to any of these stores and get your wares to build your space or whatever. It's broken. And I think that symbolically, aesthetically, this is a really important message that they embedded into this. The whole big storyline is that I am a human being coming into a village of non-humans, and they are all puzzled because they thought humans had gone extinct. And I'm actually figuring out slowly what happened to the humans. And the overall story is the humans overdosed on a magical energy called flow, as in they went too fast. And so there's these broken relics of the previous human society all over the place. But the message of this is saying, like, look at how village can be born out of brokenness. And I think having something unfinished and maybe even imperfect in that center place is such a way to honor and celebrate humans. And what it does with that storyline is it makes me really curious about my own humanity, because all these villagers are kind of either irritated or curious or cautious, especially for the first easily 100 hours when I arrived. They don't trust instantly. It's not Disneyland, despite how cute it looks. You have to build trust with these NPCs, and they're suspicious because your species died. They're kind of like, "Oh, we don't know what happened to y'all, but okay." Um, oh, there's Salem. Oh, that's so cool. So I have a couple friends in here now that are um, helping build a tiny community of bridge makers, which is what we're streaming from and what I'm all about. A lot of people here are for that. And Salem is one of the people that really inspired me. She has such a beautiful place. She doesn't realize I'm here, but let's see if I can wave at her. Oh, there she goes. She's off on her quests. So, and we also have Garlic in our midst, and Garlic is in the app, including Garlic's dad, possibly, is watching this stream and is in the app. And I just met Garlic today, but Garlic's been playing for about a year and is part of the community leadership of a different community connected to Bridgemakers. Um, but it's pretty trippy how connected and close you can feel in this game, even though it's just text. That's all. You can only type by text. So I've been giving you a lot of kind of original orientation to it. What are questions are coming up for you right now? So I've had some of the NPCs react to me in a really kind of mean way, where they treat me like I am the scum of the earth and I don't want to be bothered with me. But I've also had them show up at my home right out here, and they've apologized to me for treating me that way. and they've said, this is the stress that's going on. I apologize for this. I'm going to offer you a peace offering gift. And so, even integrating conflict in there from an NPC, it's a really dynamic way to teach you about interpersonal relationships. Uh, and there are customs. I think the first time I got really, really excited about Palia was when I was in there's kind of two main exploratory areas, and then there's your home space. And then there's a whole bunch of like little places that you can go, like the underground market and whatever. But in this other space, which is the main kind of hunting, fishing, whatever ground, there's these trees. You might have read in my article on LinkedIn. There's these trees called flow trees. We're going to see if we can find any. It's the wrong time of day, so to speak, to find these, but they might be around. And what I found was over on the left-hand side here, this particular server that we're in usually has more people in it. Let's see how many people are in this one right now. So we've got 6 people, I think, in this area. But basically, every hour is 24 hours in Palia. And at about 11 p.m. at night, so kind of perfect opposite to this, you're going to see people starting to scout the area and find these trees that have this really shimmery, multicolored, um, magic looking stuff kind of crawling up and down their trunks. But people have this custom, which is implicit norm that has developed over time to not cut the trees until 3 a.m. Paleo time. And you can't cut most of those trees that have the magic on them unless other people are cutting it with you. So what happens is these big gatherings happen in this like little grove of trees that have this magic around, and people just hang out waiting and signaling to everybody on where to go. And that kind of cooperative behavior, that where like before I understood that this was a norm, because I did not find this written anywhere to wait until 3 a.m. I would find like the littler trees and I would chop them down. And sometimes my kind of furious chopping would pull other people to do it who weren't as solid with that norm either. And what would happen is people who were sitting around would apologize to the other people that were coming to cut trees, because they were like, sorry, the trees are gone. Somebody started cutting. I've got extra wood if you need it. Like, and they would forgive it, but they would also acknowledge that was an error. And real players, these are all real players that are doing this. And to see this happen repeatedly, where everybody gets really excited to cut down these magical trees and the loot that they're going to get from that to build things, but to see them all just come in mass and hang out, we'll try to hopefully catch it at the end of our time, that it'll be the right time to look for that. That really blew me away, because that means the community, they have designed this game so cooperatively that the community has built their own collective rule on how to enjoy something together with delayed gratification. And that's happening in dozens of these fragmented instances, just automatically. That was like, okay, they have probably heavily tweaked this for a long time to see where they could get that kind of joining moment to happen. This is the map of kind of the hunting, fishing, quest gaming world. The other one that we were in before we were at my home was the village area where you can buy things. And there's also some kind of mini quests. You don't get access to the space I'm in for a while. You have to kind of get to know the other space and the NPCs. There's a few NPCs that live in this area, but most of them live in the main area. And so from the beginning, yeah, you're not even given access to come or travel here until you have learned the tools pretty well. And then you can you can do things. So and so it's just it's the play, it's the ritual of like chopping wood and finding like rocks and catching bugs and all of these things you can do on your own in both of the spaces. But when you actually party up with a group of people and you do it with them, you get massive amounts of points comparatively. And so it really, you learn pretty quickly is it's way better to do it with at least one other person. You're going to be way more successful. And I've never seen anything quite like this, that not only is infusing you with all this information on how to be a good human being in the world, but giving you just layers on layers of generous rewards. And it's a free game, like the only thing that you really pay into if you want, and you can see that I have done that, is if you want to get a companion creature to follow you around, which really does nothing, or you want to change your outfit. That's where you actually can and are kind of required to pay money to. And yeah, I have this little ferret that kind of bounces around and looks really bored at times. But like one of the mini games is cooking. I wonder if Garlic's around. Garlic, if you're listening to this and want to hop in and we can show them what that looks like, that'd be awesome. But these cooking recipes, personally, on my own, I'm really stressed by these. They annoy me because they require this kind of rhythm to them. I'm not somebody who has a ton of good rhythm. And it takes all the fun out of the cooking. Like I do cook. Yay, Garlic's here. But when I'm doing it with a crowd of people, like I've been in cooking parties of like 15 people running around these massive spaces that were created just for cooking by players. Here's Garlic. Yay. I'm going to wave at Garlic. That's me using my hello. um, and so this is my tiny little one person kitchen, but it does work for two people. But all of a sudden, when everybody's cooking something together, it becomes kind of this feeding frenzy game. I haven't made this recipe before, so we're going to see if I can multitask and actually do this alongside Garlic. Um, and so I think it's really, I've seen this in immersive VR games where you do kind of cooking exercises. Um, but yeah, yeah, it does seem fun. I think that that could be a whole other level of engagement when you have the dexterity of your hands and your head movement and whatever. But I just had never, I don't think I've ever seen a VR game coordinate cooperative cooking so well to where what they do here is you don't just get the food, you actually, everybody gets, if you participate in this or help out in any of the steps, everybody gets the same amount of food and dishes. And so you're monopolizing significantly off of the resources, and that makes it feel really exciting to help each other. Um, yeah, it is very Guitar Hero. That's right. And on my best days, I am not very good at this, but yeah. So this is my lowest level basically to work on, but it's made me have to go and kind of interact with people because until you get to level 10, you're not earning these special coins that actually allow you to um, purchase much more interesting assets and practical assets. So we've got chili oil dumplings. I can grab that off the stove. Now I can, yay, and Princess is clapping. And then I can also open it up because it has a star on it. Ooh, who's Wanda? Hello, Wanda. And I can place that dish that we just made somewhere. As you can tell, I have a lot of food out, but I can place that down, and now I have more demonstrations of food. Um, and so when you get 15, 20 people in the same space doing this, it's just crazy to kind of see people running around. Um, and really, really fun. This is another thing, Princess, if you're listening or looking at this, Try sitting at the table with me. So I have had conversations in this space. Actually, I need to pull this chair out because it's a little tight. I've had conversations in this space for up to 3 hours with people just hanging out and sitting in my office over there, sitting at the table. And there's no voice option. And it's all here. And it's also limited to 140 characters. And it'll start flagging me at about 100 characters. So this is like Twitter level community chatting, right? But it still works. We can still communicate a lot. And, every once in a while people jump up and start dancing or doing tricks. But there's something wildly grounding to be able to see your avatar sitting there hanging out in this really fun, delightful space. And and I think in a VR setting, it would feel really similarly. These things seem like old news for gaming or just cozy game for women or whatever. There's stereotypes with these kinds of activities, but they have layered so much on top of each other that I was asking Princess a little bit earlier, like she's been in here a year and what's her ratio of how many men to women she sees in here. Um, and she had such a great answer is that her dad introduced her to this app and they play together in here. Her dad might actually be watching the stream or even was going to come in here. And that was interesting. I haven't actually met any other men in here that I've kind of visited their place and everything else. So so that's fascinating to me and the stereotypes of sorts that this game is actually getting a good chunk of male presenting people. And and so it destroys the assumption that cozy games are more for the female crowd to some degree. It's fun. They do a lot of cute kind of, it's picturesque. It's kind of a lot of people when they see me play it or whatever, they've said that it looks like the happy game, the happy place, that's lauded. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of missed opportunity to create delight and generosity in these places. Wanda the best. Welcome, Wanda. I don't know who that is. But yeah, any questions right now, Jay, from the audience, or we can also wander over together. I should wave to Wanda. Wanda's like running around. Each of these objects has been earned through quests and fishing and doing all kinds of things. And so when I'm coming in here, having played for about 300 hours now, I'm a little embarrassed to say, I look at these objects and I recognize a lot of them because I either have them and haven't figured out a place for them, or I know a whole story around that object that like was really meaningful to me. And and so it's not just about the aesthetic, it's about the stories that go with all these spaces. And what will happen when people are in homes together is they will just start to like ask questions of like, where did you get that chest? Or I'm really trying to find that fish. Um, oh, this is cute. I hadn't been in her kitchen. And so the homes are so varied, and you can actually create parkour courses in here. You can create all kinds of wild journeys and adventures, um, and have gatherings on like plushie trading. Like that's one of the things you can exchange. I can actually go out and water Garlic's garden if it needs to be watered. If Garlic has a construction site that hasn't been built yet, I can add my own objects to her construction site. So it's actually, she's like, no, I have to weed. Don't look at my garden. um, so see, I'm adding to the space right now, right? These are just things that like we don't get to do in physical reality anymore, like knocking on somebody's door or even calling them is considered like, what do you want? And in here it's just filled with this kind of be a neighbor, cup of sugar, borrow kind of vibe. And and it feels like in a lot of ways Palia has brought back the constructs of why villages are villages. why they make space together, why they cooperate. And all over the world and not even know their age or their gender. I spent probably about 45 minutes with a almost troll that I later learned was 12-year-old boy who had come onto the server and was like really demanding and crying because they weren't getting what they were wanting and lots of emojis and whatever. And I was just watching it to see what does the community do when somebody's being kind of presumptive and tantrumy. And they were pretty kind to the this kid. And so I invited the kid to my community um, and and found out just a little bit about him about 45 minutes later and wasn't surprised he was 12 years old, but really appreciated that he didn't have to be 12 in here and he could still change his behavior, which he did, to be more cooperative and offering things instead of just asking for his needs to be met instantly. So, as far as like behavioral conditioning goes, I think this is a great game for. I think that in a non-punitive justice way, this game could be used as a somewhat of a rehabilitation space for players that keep getting reported for poor behavior. Like, go don't get reported in Palia for 100 hours and then you can come back and try to play our game kind of thing. Because, and it would work. Yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Wander around. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen groups do like counter trolling pieces where I'm actually going to try to sit under this because it's a really cute little place of shade. Um, I've seen people have these kind of you trolled us, so we're going to troll you as a group kind of punishment. This, so my background is I'm a social scientist and I have a pretty extensive history in higher education, et cetera. So what I know about timeouts is they're the least harmful, but they still don't work super well when you are separating somebody who's having anxiety and aggression and whatever else, and you make it a blame thing about them instead of owning as a caregiver, like, I can't handle this right now. I need a timeout and modeling that self-care. So I think that we're isolating people, removing any of the positive rewarding experiences because we think they're going to learn something from that void, but we're not giving them any kind of like genuine care and support to gently understand with increasing pressure potentially, but to gently understand different ways to handle the situations they're in. And yeah, you couldn't get very far in this game trolling. There's not they have it very protected, so it's pretty hard to like insidiously attack anybody in here. They are rotating you through servers every time you move locations, and so you're rarely in the same quote server for any amount of like longer than 5 minutes, so to speak. So you're constantly getting exposed to new people, and that creates this ventilation of sorts that you're the culture is solid enough that you're going to get a high quality experience with anybody who's willing to party up with you and go do things, but you're slowly learning about each other as you go depending on your preferences and what you want to gather and what you like. So I think that the reconciliation cycles for gaming experiences are seriously undeveloped, if non-existent at all. And Palia has done a really good job of squeezing people through an onboarding process to the point where when they can interact with other humans, they're kind of so overwhelmed with like all the possibilities and paths that they can go on to do fun things, that they don't have the time to kind of make up stories about each other of like what's wrong with this person or what are they going to try to get from me or whatever. So like I can open my menu here and I can go to requests, and these are all items that I have found already at least once. Some of these items are worth a lot of money, Palian money, so to speak. I can request this item, and almost every item I've requested, community members within just minutes will, who I've never met, who I don't even know their name, whatever, they will fill that order and they will give away their own things constantly. And that has been shocking to me. I thought it was like NPCs or the game was doing it or something when I was just getting frustrated with a task. So I'm going to show you an example here. I don't I don't think so. I have I have also supplied things. Let's see, instead of requesting something, see if I can actually help with somebody else requesting. And Garlic, if you're still listening to this, if you don't mind requesting something so we can show that process, that would be great. But I'll have to get it really fast because people fulfill these orders really, really quickly when they do. What I can do, which I haven't played around with very much, so maybe Garlic, we can demonstrate this, is I haven't tried this give kudos thing. I don't know what it means, but we're going to try this. Helping with a stream, even though we just met. And I'm going to submit that, and we'll see what happens on Garlic's end. Maybe Garlic, if you want to give me a shout out, we can see if I get any points or anything from that. I haven't tried that part yet. But let's see if Garlic requested something here. Here we go, from friends. Oh, and it says I don't. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So I do have carrot seed, but I have starred carrot seed, and it's not letting me gift that. And Heartwood Plank, I do have that, and it's weird that it's not showing that I can gift that to you. Huh, interesting. Well, it is an hour to fulfill the request. It will expire if somebody doesn't fill this in the next hour. So, yeah, yeah, go for it. Oh, that's an interesting question. You know what's funny? I couldn't figure out how to get the volume to work in here for this stream. But if you could hear it, actually, when you are cooking, it makes tones and noises as you chop and cook that sound like chords and whatever. So when you get a whole group of people cooking together, it does sound like a kind of weird kind of music to it. um, I have a video unlisted on our Bridgemakers site that I'm planning to edit and release some version of this where, oh, okay, yeah. I wonder if adding the audio was weird. I was gonna say that I have a video that I actually showed you a little bit of, Jay, that we went and we clapped together. We got about 20 people clapping in the main lobby as a way to kind of build community and celebrate Palia. And people brought fireworks, and the fireworks also have a tone to them when they shoot off. And so there was this kind of raucous noise to it all, but it was so fun and beautiful to like see all these people that just started gathering and clapping and celebrating the NPCs as they walked by and gossiping about them and asking each other, you know, where are you from? How long have you been playing? It was really lovely. And so I think if you do ever get in the game, Mary, I would really suggest, yeah, playing it with volume on, because I've so appreciated the audio landscape that they have and rewards they have with audio in this space. And I've actually been told by some of the players that they will actually just go hang out in certain spaces where only a particular music is playing, because they say it's some of the best, most beautiful music they've ever heard, like the clothing store. They're like, I just go sit in there sometimes and have it in the background. Like, that's kind of an extraordinary statement to like go to a store to listen to the music played. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of room to grow there, but it's an incredibly well done soundscape. I've also, yeah, go ahead. There you go. Yeah. That's such a good point and tip as a next level thing that hopefully they will add. The only thing I believe you can actually modify in here at this time is a sign where you can type a statement. And that's actually really good timing to show you princesses, which very classic to, oh, well, if you hit those turnips, you go flying. Um, is check this out. So this is Princess's greeting to people when they come to her home, and I swear this is the epitome of Palia. You are loved and important, and you can bring things to this world that no one else can. So hold on. Like that is what is coming out of people in this game. This is what the messages are from the NPCs. It is really rich and high quality, loving content that is celebrating your humanity, but also not spiritually bypassing the pain of being human. And I'm I've just never seen anything like this before. I keep ending my stories with that. I've seen tiny, attempts at one or two of these layers, but um, this is extraordinary. So I would say that no, you can't do like, hand art, but you can modify a lot of these things with your own colors and designs that you found. This is art in a way, and it feels very creative to people. I don't hear them say build my home or put my home together. I hear them say I'm a creator. I love to create. So, oh, and this is what the magic trees look like, by the way. If we go to there as our kind of final thing, those are flow trees, and we can't cut these down unless we have a group. I don't know if you can cut them down in here unless I have edit. But I can actually edit. If Princess gave me editing capacity, I could move stuff around in her space. And being able to influence each other's space like that and building that kind of trust is really interesting to me. Um, to like let people modify. I can't delete any of her things. The one thing that I can do, which it looks like you already have gone, but there's a old broken sign as one of the only things in the yard in the very beginning, kind of right where this one is. And somebody came into my space the other day, and I gave them editor capabilities, and with one whack of their axe, they cut it down and turned it into wood. That's the only thing you can do is break the broken sign, apparently, as far as like destroy and take something. It was funny. I was like, wait, but is it going to grow back? Like, well, you took my sign. Um, so, yeah, there's pretty consistent rules around like what you can't access or do. But uh, overall, I think it gives you so many pathways. So much of our life is spent in boxes with really linear rules, only one entrance, one exit. A lot of immersive realities, Second Life, and what people create, user generated content in these places, they create them similar to physical reality spaces. But what you can't do in physical reality spaces that you can do in these games is you can't fly up into the air. You can't run really fast. And so spaces in immersive gaming are created to mimic or resemble what physical reality looks like, but because you can do inhuman things in these spaces that can come across as incredibly aggressive and rushed and like hyper excited, it can create a lot of constant conflict that people are not self-aware to understand. My excitement has turned me somewhat aggressive, and I don't even know that. And then people get blocked and then they get really hurt. If you spend a lot of time with an avatar and somebody blocks that avatar or bans you, that doesn't just feel like I messed up, try again. It can feel like you murdered my avatar. It can feel very personal and create a loop where when they do come back in, they're going to be more broken and more cruel towards each other. So uh, that's just something to think about when we're talking about like what kind of creative agency to give people, but also like how to recognize that space. If you look at how these homes are built that are kind of templates, you see a lot of rounded edges and not as much of this kind of square box like stuff. And that softened rounded edges is a type of soothing to our nervous system, and it makes us more cooperative. Yeah. Let's go to the, it's nighttime now, so we can go to the, if I can figure out where it's at. I have this template for my home space. Let's go to where we can cut down some flow trees. Garlic's like, I know where it is. I'm gonna jump on a turnip one more time because they're fun. I think that whatever Palia has done here could be something that every gaming company on this planet takes some knowledge from of how to build healthier cultures. I think this is one of the best recipe books I've ever seen, living proof by just looking in your chat over there. Um, yeah, yeah. A lot of people criticize like that sense of what is tribe, what is village, and when we're feeling a sense of survival, like we can all lose something, we're going to be more intense and kind of mean to each other. So, how do you build up the stamina to stay kind with your team, even if the levels are going to get harder? And that's such a important piece that I think I imagine that a lot of gaming companies are so excited to release their games that by the time they get to, wait, how do we help people learn how to play this really fun thing? That just, with the deadlines and the, pressures, it becomes the least invested in process. How do we attract, build, nurture, and maintain the community system and culture we want? That's right. Exactly. Right. This is absolutely a way. That's right. Yeah. And I believe that I actually do wish Palia would give voice privileges to people who have a certain level of rating and acclimation to the game. I think that allowing people to explore with more freedom their connections after they have done this level of onboarding would be pretty successful, and they would have all kinds of stories coming out about how, yeah, but I exactly. Yeah, right, right. And so trust levels could be really useful to kind of preparedness to interact with the complexity of adding all those other stimulants into the equation. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking up in the sky because when somebody does find flow trees in here, they're going to likely shoot a firework up in the air to signal where the grove is at. And we might, yeah, go ahead. No, there's no combat to the best of my knowledge. I haven't played all the way through it, but the only combat is with these poor, beautiful deer and bugs. And it's not really a fight. They're just trapped. This is like one of those terrible gaming reserves that you just go there to hunt the animals. I feel so bad for them sometimes. I'm just like, basically, if I shoot and I don't hold this against me, but if I shoot this deer, it's not going to kill it. You can see a bar over its head that it's about halfway depleted, and it's going to run off and then just hang out and pretend it doesn't have an arrow in it. Um, it's a it's a different task. I think in the psychology of how our minds work around meat, I think this is hilarious. So when I come up to it, it's just a golden bag of loot. There's no blood. There's I think it's skipping some important parts about what it means to forage and hunt, but yeah, you're not required to hunt, but you can't complete some quests without doing it. But you also don't have to complete those quests. You could likely play this entire game without ever shooting anything. And I love that. I love that it can allow you to be successful. You can see over here, these are the different levels for each skill. So my highest level is gardening, which is very true to me. I've met a couple of people in here who are considering a career in gardening. Yeah, interesting. That's interesting, and I don't think so. So basically, like, uh, and I every time I always feel this. I feel so guilty when I even mimic these motions. But I was gonna say I can shoot that deer but not finish it, which is a terrible practice. And somebody else will likely shoot it in the next few minutes, and then I still get the loot. So in fact, you're actually rewarded for half killed creatures. I don't think in a way they really thought through all the way, but yeah. Yeah, there is. I'm going to show you. There's a horn here that I haven't used yet, but each different task gives you, or you can earn these special powers. So if I activate a buzzy jar, it's going to show me where the really secret special bugs are. If I activate the fisherman's brew, I'll be able to find better fish. And this hunting horn, when I blow it or utilize it, activate it, anybody with me in a party will now be following me as I follow the super special magical creature that will show up for 15 minutes. So yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah. So, well, kind of. There isn't competitive, but as you can see there, Garlic just tried to add me to a party, and we can actually illustrate this for you. Garlic, you're such a good co-presenter with me. I love it. So now, if you can see on the left-hand side, Garlic and I are in a party. I think you can own. Oh, Garlic, and that's Garlic's dad. That's so cool. Garlic and her dad are in here. She told me what her dad's name. There they are over there. And so, I mean, that's cool. That would have never occurred to me in a thousand years that you could play a game like this with your dad. That's so fun. Um, but basically, like, if I hunt or do anything here, even if they're not around me, they're going to see a loot bag pop up, and they can come and forage and grab it within a certain amount of time. And so that makes it really incentivized to partner up with people and actually go on these adventures together. But as far as adversarial, no, I haven't seen anything in here that is like fighting a boss or something. This is so cool. We're about to meet a father and daughter that play Palia. Like, have you ever heard of anything like this? And I run in, I run into people that are just having these super cool, unique stories. Like, I met a couple women in here who are now moderating with my community and helping out in here that their mental health. One of them is a nurse, the other one works in mental health advocacy. There's Princess Garlic. There's there's Dad. Look at that. Hello, Dad. Aw. Dad bought. Look at that. And now I'll show you the, oh, sorry for laughing. We can, Princess, if you stand next to me, we can actually get a picture. Um, and a selfie, yes. So I'm gonna move this. I've been learning how to negotiate this. There you go. So this is something I would actually change about Palia, and Dad is being on the lookout for us, is that it has usernames so kind of intensively displayed. I think that kind of ruins the immersion of it, unfortunately, unless it's a reporting thing. Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, little heart. That's so lovely. Yeah. And now that's a memory. Yeah, yeah. I know we're closing up here. Yeah. This is another nice to have. I wish that these pets interacted with each other. They don't. There's very little interaction, period. Sometimes it kind of looks like they do. I love that. Like, look at that one with the back legs out. It's definitely, stimulating our brains for cuteness in a pretty big way. They're just along for the ride. Yeah, I've joked with people before that my weasel is looking pretty hungry when they cook things. I'm like, I think the weasel's into it, but I don't think there's any interaction yet. I think an interesting next step for Palia that I hesitate to mention, but I know it's got to be on people's minds, is when the NPCs get upgraded with AI. And that'll also probably include upgrades for the pets. And then it's going to be a whole other ballgame to be interacting with beings that are actually learning your profile and your makeup, and it will feel really different. Um, you can see over to the left that Princess is saying, "Hey, has anyone found the grove?" Right now, I'm guessing in this server we don't. Yeah, this is the magic grove that we were going to try to hunt down. And I'm still looking in the sky. Oh, look, there's some flares over there. Oh, this will be a cool way to end the stream, for us to like go chop down because it's almost 2 a.m. So in just a couple of minutes, we're going to be at 3 a.m. You'll get to see what this looks like. Look how pretty that is. Oh no, they're chopping. Don't chop yet. So see, this does happen. And yeah, it's all on foot. Let's see if they're gonna wait. Um, all climbing and leaping around. So then, so what you're gonna see me doing here that I learned without anybody telling me is I'll go around and I'll tap each one time. And the reason to do that is because the group will start cutting somewhere first, and if you aren't cutting with them, you lose that loot. And so this is a way to ensure that we get the loot when we all chop in a few more minutes. And look at this. Yeah, so they put flares up in the sky, and then this is a bug catcher. So somebody brought this themselves to give people an activity to do while we're all waiting to cut. And so it's interesting. I don't see any bugs coming, which is really rare. Usually there's a swarm of bugs that start running around, but not this time. Different. Yeah, that exactly. So that's the flow energy, and when everybody cuts it down, they're super strong basically. You can't get them down without teamwork. So there's an example of a bug. And just by me being near people who are trying to catch the bug, I can actually grab it. So it really quickly encourages people to spend time together. And this phenomena of people being so excited, here we have these magical trees and nobody's going to cut for another 20 plus Palia minutes, is kind of miraculous to me. Talk about teaching us how to um, actually like, let me sit myself down, teaching us how to have delayed gratification and just chill out and meet each other and say hello, and hunt bugs. And yeah, there you go. So I sit down now, Raven sits down. This is a training, exactly, in nonverbal body language. So this is mob mentality to some degree, that it's stimulating, but it's controlling it well enough with a short enough delay that we're all going to get rewarded for just hanging out with each other and making sure that everybody gets to uh, have the abundance together, because this flow energy will allow us to go create things. So I love that you're getting to see this live real time. You know that it's it's perfect. It's a perfect ending. All of these are emotes, and people want to keep hunting and keep doing all this stuff, but oh, see, now it's turned 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. So now this is where people are going to start getting itchy to cut trees. You can see the axes are coming out, and everyone's like, let's do this. And then once the cutting starts, it really gets going. Let's see if everyone's going to come. Here we go. Boom. Tree down. And now they're going to go after this one. You can see the loot is piling up. And even though I'm not cutting with that because I tapped it. And I mean, some people could make some judgments about encouraging people to cut trees down when our planet is dying and all that stuff. But I think harm reduction, this is one of the coolest ways to teach people how to synchronize with each other that I've ever seen. Especially when you realize that humans who went too fast with flow, it made their species extinct. I think that's a really good message. Like, it's good to wait and slow down. um, so, big shout out to everybody who helped coordinate this stream, including you, Jay, and Marivio, and Garlic, and Ren, who are both Palia lovers, and Armani, Jose posted on YouTube, yep, and Nikki is helping with LinkedIn. So we had a massive team effect here to make this stream. Yeah, thank you. And I'll tell you, this isn't just a place for when you feel happy. What I learned from a few people in here the other night, because I was having a hard evening with some anniversaries coming up of hard moments about a year ago, I just went and sat next to the lake in the other map and was chatting with them while they were being playful and decorating their homes. And then they eventually came and joined me for about an hour, and we just chatted in our party together about, why I was feeling like I couldn't be playful. And then they told me that they've had pretty hard moments in the last year in their own lives, and what they will do is get to a safe place and go hang out in Palia for like 5 to 10 minutes and just go to a favorite scene. I could probably teach a 10-week class off of this game because I have spreadsheets on what is working, and I think for any developers who watch this, I love it. Dad's like, yeah, look at all those emojis. Come join Pele. For any developers out there, play this game for just 50 hours and take 2 or 3 of the things that they're doing and incorporate the lessons of that in your game. What you're going to find is it's not just going to improve the culture over time, but they compound on each other when they reinforce each other. And so having one cooperative game, that's okay. But having multiple cooperative cues and kindness cues and interpersonal cues, that turns into a whole other kind of culture. It's a safety and a boundary setting that we all thrive in when we know that we're being expected to be generous and kind to each other, and then also being empowered to do that. And Palia as a game is so generous to its users compared to most of the simulation games out there that starts to leech fiscally off of its users very quickly, trying to get you to buy things, etc. And so it gives you a very long journey without any of that expectation of getting that deeply involved. And so by the time I ended up buying access to a creature, I was so grateful to the game. I wanted to invest the money. I was like, yes, thank you. I want to say, this has been such a transformative experience for me to remember what community can be like. And I think that it's such a good example of freemium that way, that by the time you get people to their on-ramp to buy in, they're relieved to buy in instead of resentful or irritated or feeling like no free lunch. That's not the impression I get out of this game. And I've never seen anything like it that way. So, yeah. Yay. Okay, well, we're going to close up because we're over time, but this was lovely. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And yeah, if you have additional questions, feel free to join our Discord. We do have a discussion area spot now for talking about healthy gaming and how that can change and build better communities. And it's called Playing Together, and it's in our events area. So please join and join the conversation. Let's make a list of really amazing games. Yay. Okay, I'm going to stop the stream. Thank you, everybody.